Hello there. Welcome to episode number 7 of the Maker Manager Money podcast, a podcast about entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, founders, business owners, and business partnerships, from startups to stay-ups, to inspire entrepreneurs to keep going and future entrepreneurs to just start. My name is Kyle Knowles, and I'm just trying to make some cool content at Kiln. That's K-I-L-N, as in never mind looking at other co-working spaces. Kiln provides working communities that are handcrafted and programmed to elevate lifestyle and performance. Kiln is the Michael Jordan of co-working communities. Now, you might disagree with me on that. It might be the Steph Curry of co-working spaces or the LeBron James, but I don't want to start any fights tonight. Tonight's guest is Jason Steed. Jason worked as a designer before venturing into entrepreneurship. He eventually founded Targa Media, which is a relationship marketing and branding agency, or as they say, the un-ad agency, meaning they match each campaign with true client motivations instead of an ad agency's creative styles. Targa Media will celebrate their 21st anniversary in October. Clients include Logitech, Micron, Dell, Veridesk, Aerohive. Is it Aerohive? Okay. Jason, you can help me on this. Aerohive okay. And MarketStar. Jason has extensive experience in marketing, strategy, branding, content creation, design, and campaign execution. Jason looks forward to Mondays. He loves sunrises, speed golf, trail running, and chess. He also plays ultimate frisbee, which he says is the only team sport where he's not picked last. He's an ear-trained musician who, with his wife Heather, performs requested 80s songs, which they live stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Tuesday nights. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kyle. It's good to connect with you again, my friend.
Thank you for being here. I think the last time I saw you face-to-face was in the year 2000 or so.
Yes.
Before you started Targa Media. It's so good to see you again. So while you spent your 30s and 40s building your own business, I spent those years working for the man and the woman. So what's the difference between us?
That is a very, very good question. I don't know that it has to do with business smarts. I don't know that it has to do with courage. I think it has to do with opportunities and timing. I was raised very much to be encouraged to find a very solid, stable place to grow and develop and have that job security and that mutual employer-employee respect and understanding. And in the process, I don't know that they drove me away from that model. I just had such an interest in getting to know all of the steps along the way in a marketing or a product creating type of venture. And the way to do that for sure is as an entrepreneur.
Right. So when you say they drove you to this or that, is that your parents?
Yes, I'm speaking of my parents. Like I said, My dad was just so dedicated in his space as working with as a dentist in dental practices in Utah, and with his dedication to his dedication and devotion led him one day to a place where there was an acquisition, and the management decided they wanted to shake things up a lot. And he ended up, of course, finding opportunities that were things that were not in his sights. So in fact, he came back to me at that point, as I had been in this space as an entrepreneur for some time, and said, well, kudos to you, Jason, because you just don't know. It's not up to you how hard you work and how dedicated and loyal you are. There are so many variables that you don't have control over. And some would look at that and say, well, there are also variables in the space as an entrepreneur, and agreed. So it just depends on what kind of a mix and where your ambitions are and your energy is. So anyway, I have such deep respect for the way I was raised. and appreciation for the dedication that my dad gave to the man and the woman in his process, but grateful for the courage, of course, to venture out and try something new and experiment and guess at it and make it up as I go. And so I'm sure there were many footsteps that I followed in the entrepreneurial space. You've brought up some names already. Kim with Verite. I remember she was always 10 years ahead of having jumped in and with her agency. And so I would see her, I'm so excited. This is our 15-year reunion for our company. And I thought, that means my company is 5 years old, 20 years. My company's 10 years old. So those little opportunities just, are just inspiring to me, just to take a step, one step at a time.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You mentioned Kim Jones. And, last week I had a guest on, Ben Moffitt, who worked for Kim Jones and then ventured out on his own with Ian and Corey to launch Gantry. And it's just a really small world, really, when you think about here in Utah, design and all these different kinds of businesses that have started and different agencies in town. So it really is a small world. And you were in the Crane Building.
I was in the Crane Building
where Gantry is. Yeah, where Gantry is right now. So we were just again, it's one of those just happenstance kinds of events. I was just sort of cohabitating with another small 2-person agency in town. Their lease ran out. I had just walked in and was enjoying that opportunity to have office space. 6 months later, they broke the news. Hey, we can't stay here any longer. Do you have any place to go? Like, I have no place to go. So I followed their commercial realtor around, and their very first stop was a 700 square foot space in the Crane Building. Tall ceilings, exposed brick. It just felt just the right size. And it was the right size for about 17 years. And then it was no longer the right size. So we can get into that as well. Yeah, that's awesome. So you outgrew it then.
Yeah, outgrew it. Yeah, but it was home for so very long. Yeah.
And I love this talk about anniversaries, because really this podcast is a celebration of entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And you had your 20th last year, and it'll be your 21st anniversary in October. So congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And I remember for the longest time, my wife Heather would just come to me and say, how's it going? Do you feel like you need a job? And I often would also say to myself, maybe it's time for me to get a real job so I can learn what I'm doing or learn what to do. And by virtue of the time that passed, eventually you come to realize, oh, well, maybe I've been forced to figure it out on my own. And that's a big deal, I know, for deciding when to go out on your own. What are the circumstances? When is the timing right? And you even asked me, Kyle, you said, how did you know that it was time to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
And that was such a fluid, random process for me. I can cover a little bit of that if you'd like me to get into a little bit of that.
Yeah, if you want to talk about like your career and then that aha moment where you're like, I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah, where you just end up and you look around and you say, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. I guess I guess there's no going in-house to figure it out from here. And I right out of school, out of college with a graphic design degree from BYU, I was I was hired onto DSW, the largest agency in Utah. They had Minolta, they had Intel, and I was flattered by the opportunity to be a associate art director right out of school. So I dug right in and just enjoyed understanding the process and getting to know and feeling the energy of the agency. I was always curious what was going on outside my cubicle. Like they were building web pages and they were making animations happen. There was a multimedia studio, the dark room where they'd slide the pizza under the door in the morning and they'd pull it back and it would be empty at night. And that duo, that team, those two brothers that would just do amazing things in the video and multimedia space. So I was always curious and just looking and listening. And I remember at one point, I decided to transition to a smaller design boutique, Huddleston Malone Design. Incredible, fun, energetic firm, about a 10-person space at that time. And that gave me a chance to get to know the production manager, to get to know the account manager, the graphic designers that I worked with, the production, some of the crafting of the ideas. And I really loved that. I was still always just a little more curious why our clients were requesting the project and what happens to it when it leaves. Did it work? And so I think those were those stepping stones for me, a somewhat gradual process in that realization that I was so curious I had to find out. And of course, there's nothing like jumping in with both feet as a entrepreneur to get to know that. So I had the opportunity then to be hired on to there were two partners that hired me as their junior partner interactive specialist. And I was pretty excited about that because I really took a liking to the idea of web and interactive and that the motion arts. I think as a musician, I crave and understand that fun energy of motion arts. So I spent 3 weeks there before I was informed that they were being purchased or they were being hired on to a firm just a few zip codes away. And so
I'm familiar with that firm.
Yes, you are, Kyle. That's so
do you know the background? I actually requested their portfolio.
Oh,
so
is that
Caldera
right?
was
Yes.
working on logos.
Yes.
And I had worked with Oxygen Studios because I was doing some side work for the Jordan School District.
Yes.
And they were helping us build a website, basically.
Yeah.
And so I saw the logos that whatever agency Caldera was using, and I was like, these are not cool. These look like clip art. And I said, you guys need to talk to someone. And so I connected.
No way. That is
connected
so cool. I really
Chris
have no idea.
and Kip.
Yes.
And they FedExed a portfolio down, and the rest is history. So I'm sorry for you losing your job.
Okay. Well,
You can
now
blame me.
here we are,
Full
right
circle.
on the spot, making the connections. Well, Kyle, I'll tell you, they came to me and they said, the agency, we've had it evaluated. It's worth such and such, so many dollars, and it's really a great opportunity. We've got great clients, and I thought, it's a fun firm. It's a cool space. I thought if I'm going to go into lots of debt, I'm going to do that on my own accord. And so that was coincidentally exactly what I did. And it only took about 1.5 years to get into lots of debt as my own with a partnership that I had started. Right out of that transition. I actually was a sole proprietor for about a year and as Steed Studios, and enjoyed the opportunity I had to work with a few clients, and overhead was so low, and it was just me, myself, and I. But it was good experience on the billing and the finance and the clerical side.
Yeah. And did you have clients from Oxygen Studios or?
No, I did not have any clients from Oxygen Studios.
You had to go hustle.
I had to find, and there were some I had worked with for quite a while, and there was some finding that I did, and some word of mouth, and word of mouth. There's some power there.
For sure.
I hang my hat on that. And we'll talk more about that as well. So a college friend got together with me, Frank, and said, hey, let's create a partnership. It'll be fun. He's a mathematician and an actuary, so he was good with numbers. He said, I'll be the left brain, you be the creative right brain, Jason, and that'll be kind of our thing, our stick. And so we rolled into that. The company name was NextQuo, founded in 2000. And that we racked up some debt in a very fast, furious way. And it was crazy nuts. It felt surreal. It was so fast and so crazy and out of control. We had one client who was very good to provide a lot of work for us for about 3.5 months. And then as a kind of a startup, they said, thank you. I think we have what we need. And we had a staff of, I don't know, 9, 10, 11. And I remember sitting in a show with my wife in 2002 at the Pioneer Memorial Theater, and a musical. And about halfway through the first act, it suddenly struck me, and I just felt so heavy and thick and sick, knowing that it would only take that the equivalent of 6 payrolls was more than the overall mortgage, the overall value of our home. In other words, it would only take me 6 payrolls to surpass the cost of our home. And that just hit me so hard. I thought, what in the world am I doing? This is reality, you know? So, and everything sort of culminated, and we got ourselves in deeper and heavier. And the challenge there, I think this is really valuable that I certainly understood. My business partner, Frank, and I, we had 2 different, very passionate goals. Both are very amicable and can be very effective in building a business, but not if they're so polarized and opposite from each other.
What were those goals then?
His goal was, if there's a brick wall, you've got to speed up. You've got to bust through it. Otherwise, opportunities are lost and momentum is lost. And my philosophy was, if there's a brick wall, slam on the brakes, deer in headlights, look both ways, see if there's any way to kind of scurry around that wall. And you can see how both could potentially be very hazardous, and both have some, curiosity and some courageousness and business sense. But where he and I were so polar and so opposite, that was ultimately the demise of the company. And so it became just a real tough reality check when I was left the only guy in town holding the money holding the bags, and it was my name on 100% of the secured loans and the debts. And that was a very scary place to be, figuring out how I'm going to make good on leased equipment and office costs and everything. At that point, he had acquired the payroll and the assets of the company just a few weeks ahead of this. So it was not so much that space with the employees and the team that I needed to be concerned about. It was the bigger picture. It was get the call at 9:30 at night from one of my employees saying, previous employees saying, hey, I noticed that all of Frank's stuff is gone from the office. Is that a problem? And so there were midnight transfers, and there was skepticism, and there was who's where and who owes what and where's the contracts. And it was a very, very heavy, scary place to be. And so ultimately, I had the choice to go in-house or try to build something myself. So I created a new company called Targa Media. And I know you had asked, how did that name come up? And I'll just jump really quickly to that. That name came up because it was available as a .com. And I wanted so bad to not have a number in my domain name because that felt like it was trying too hard. Yeah. Targa was, it's translated as shield. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And that's kind of, a fun motif, a fun visual. The Targa car is something speedy and fast and admirable and kind of slick. And so it was just a combination of things that just rolled out that way. And that's how I landed on that. It was a kind of a 72-hour thinking process and buying the name. But anyway, so at that, so there I am, day one, Targa Media. I have not only to take care of the needs of kind of a one income family with 2 children, young children, but also to make good on debts and how to kind of stay afloat on that. And certainly I had the option to file bankruptcy chapter or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. And I had varying, sources of advice. and sometimes that is just an incredibly godsend way to manage and move forward. So anyway, but I did not do that, and I fought, and I knew that I can't burn bridges in Utah. It's too small of a place. Everyone mm-hmm. knows everyone. So it was just I just knew I had to have the grit and the courage to talk and negotiate and work through and just, make something happen. And some things that I think I attribute to my ability to get that ball rolling in such awkward circumstances where I hadn't built up a nice nest egg. I hadn't talked to smart people. I didn't have 4 other partners to go in with on a new venture. The value of the customer database and what value I had for customers who and vendors who trusted me and were willing to work with me, and my commitments to refer business to them and plead for patience as I tried to build and mature this new business. And bless Heather's heart, she was dealing at home with the random collections calls from creditors, and she was a fighter and a trooper for many, many years. And she just, like I say, she was my rock in all of this. I wanted to, provide for her what she deserved, and she wanted me to continue to thrive and have that energy that I felt as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. That just, I think it's part of my identity, So that was just the process of that momentum of figuring things out and valuing the customer database and the vendor database and the partner database, and really looking at realizing that I'm working with people and not company names and not corporations and not printers and service providers, but they're people. And that has been, to this day, just a driving factor. The thing that makes me look forward to Monday mornings is I get to work with people, a staff, and new interesting challenges and Googling answers every day, just trying to keep up with technology and offer value and bring that reward into my life and the life of the people I work with.
Okay, so there were 2 different times, basically, when Oxygen Studios got sold, mm-hmm. right? There was that time, and then when Nextquo went belly up.
Yes.
If we can say it that way.
Yes.
So those 2 different times you could have gone and gotten a proper job. Mm-hmm. So tell me about the first time with Oxygen Studios. What made you go, I'm going to go for it?
Yeah, that's a great question. The very first time, there was one time before then, just really quickly,
okay.
out as I left DSW agency and said, good experience. I want to I want to work with clients, not just project managers, not just account managers, not just fellow art directors and designers. I want to work with clients. And so I gave that a 2.5 month go, and I realized there was this very, very important thing called cash flow that I hadn't done the math on. And within 2 months, we were out of money. And that's when I went out and was applying for work and found the opportunity with Huddleston Malone Design. Okay. Still keep tabs on Barry Huddleston and Dave Malone. They were great mentors. I don't know that they knew the great impact that they had on me. Being in a firm where I got to know the owners, it was just so rewarding. So that was my first foray into it. But yes,
a couple months.
So yes, of course, not long. Yeah. And grateful for that that net where you can jump in and get some full-time a full-time salary in place and benefits and all those other things that come along with. I have spent so much
Vacation
money.
time.
Right. When you're vacationing for 2 days, you're still getting, there's still some pay there. That's a concept that I have not had the luxury of for 22 years,
Right.
So obviously with the advent of a larger staff, with Targa Media, it's rewarding as well to be able to step away from the office.
Things keep moving. So money keeps coming in
yes.
with a larger staff. But usually when you're on your own, you don't work, you don't get paid, basically. Yeah.
So Kyle, to your question, what made me go create Steed Studios from Oxygen Studios, right? It's hard to pinpoint. I just thought, I had done this as a student at BYU. I had some clients. I loved the fact that I could set, billable rates, and I could just manage some upward growth. Oh, I'll tell you why. I just remembered why.
Okay.
I wanted to go into business with myself. There were 3 reasons. I wanted to answer, seriously, this just came to me.
Okay.
I wanted to be able to answer emails during the day, personal emails during the day, and feel okay about that. I wanted to be able to go to a matinee once in a while during the business week. And I wanted to get really rich. So those were 3 motivations back when I was 27, 28. And in that time, I'm still working on all 3 to find the time.
Have you gone to a matinee at least?
I've taken the staff to a matinee a few times, yes.
Okay.
It's been
Have you answered any
reward.
personal emails?
I have also answered some personal emails.
So it's only number 3. I don't know if we can go there.
I'm going. I would love to see this company mature and reach a space as well. I'm very comfortable to say that I'm working and in negotiations to have a junior partner be part of this venture. And this will be a great opportunity. She's someone who has worked many years with us. And I love to feel that there's something to be said about the ability to share just a slice of that responsibility and those stresses and those opportunities with somebody. And so I'm really excited to have this more formalized, and we'll have some fun energy moving forward. So looking forward as well, here I am in year 20 and a half. We've got some great people and some great plans in place and some great clients, and really eager to grow and to just spend the time. I always look at it. I'm grateful for my outlook on it's really about the journey and not the destination. I could be doing this for another 35 years and I would love it. I may not be. There we go at what's in our future. And I know that I have to be, the circumstances are that, for example, our industry, our clientele benefited from the fallout of COVID 2020. And by virtue, our business got busy. And that was just a luck of the draw, because I know some very smart people, some classmates, some colleagues, some friends who have thought about it through much better than I have, that just did not land in a good place from that shakeout. So the space of being an entrepreneur is just it's so hard. I told you I'm not the guy to write a book on this, because I don't know that my process was something that I would recommend that anyone follow. It was just filled with circumstances and reactions, and just hoping and working. And I've always been a hard worker. I love working. I love to earn. a day. And certainly that goes far. And that's certainly a very important component, ingredient in the recipe. But you know, there are circumstances that you have to admit you don't have control over. So I'm grateful for every day that, you know, I have a place and clients who are appreciative of our work and are eager to work more with us, and a team of 10 who is just shows such respect for each other and just has such a variety of interests and talents, and we overlap and we meld so well. We can share, just about every one of us can offer value to any project that comes in the door, from identity design to promotion for events, large format, to digital media, to video and multimedia, and email marketing, and microsites and landing pages and website development, and all those kind of communication pieces, and the traction from a well thought through marketing campaign, and the print materials and the packaging. And, you know, we all have a chance to share in that. And it does good from a structure standpoint as well, where the projects come in and they go out, and there's that wave, ebb and flow, but we can divvy out assignments so effectively with our team. Again, we are willing to just push through, challenge our comfort zone, and try new things every day, and be willing as well to put in the time for template maintenance and production, and those kinds of, also those valuable components that comes with the package, right, as an ad agency.
Right. So you're an artist. You went to school first on piano performance,
yes,
right? And you had a scholarship at the U.
Mm-hmm.
Then you ended up getting a graphic design degree, right?
Yeah.
From BYU.
Yes.
And then you've launched a couple of businesses, and now you're 20 years into Targa Media. Have you had to make the transition from basically maker, or that artist maker type person, to manager? Or are you still doing making for Targa Media?
It's a very great question, Kyle. I appreciate you asking, because it's been very hard for me to let go. I have tended to white knuckle it. You know, if you want it done right, you do it yourself. And and otherwise you hand it off and it's not done right, and then you do it yourself and it costs more money and it took more time. And so for a long time I was glad for my I love being a technician. I love producing, and that helped me to bid out more effectively on project costs and and timelines.
Because you knew how much time it would take you.
Because I felt like and so I have loved and I have embraced that point at which, on whatever day of whatever year, 3.5 years ago, I had to let go, because I was bottlenecking the process and stifling some creativity. And I had to trust, and I had to trust myself. I think I tend to trust others, and I had to trust myself to just let that process be more valuable. I had to be more valuable. And so I've loved the opportunity to be a manager, to be thinking and anticipating, and take that time, and to be out of touch sometimes with projects that come through, and to be pleasantly surprised with, that is very cool. I thought this was this kind of project. It's this instead. And I love how that's maturing. So, and my team has been very patient with me as well, because they know sometimes I get in and I fuss and I tinker, and that's fine. I think I offer a lot of value where I can, offer my experience, 25 plus years of focusing on client messaging and segmented marketing and the nuances of creativity and the balance of design and the attention, the deliberate attention, and the opportunity I have to say something in 5 seconds with a more refined design, where it says takes 30 seconds with a more chaotic and a less thought through design. So it's really fun stuff to get my hands on. But yes, the team has been very patient with me as I continue to cycle through those challenges and of trusting myself.
So the transition to manager, you mentioned maybe 3.5 years ago. So
Yeah.
was that when you started getting busy?
Yeah.
COVID and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
The clients, were getting more customers or whatever, and you had to go. I have to let go, and I have to transition to be more of a manager.
Yeah, for sure. And 3.5 years ago, being a manager looked much different than it does today. I am spending a lot of time in a role where I get to supervise and handle HR and look at clerical and team morale and business decisions and purchase decisions and all of those things. I remember in like one of the first 2 weeks as a graphic designer at BYU, one of our professors said, "Just so you know, by the time you will reach a point in your design career where you're splitting your time, 20% design, 80% management, organization, business.
Administration.
Administration.
Yeah.
Yes, admin. Wow. And I thought, no, not me. I'm always going to be designer. I'm just always digging it. And I'm just going to produce stuff and they'll love it. And they'll we'll go produce some more things and we'll pay you for it. And you realize that there's a lot involved in productizing or branding a new business, and giving it a definition and being consistent to it and following through with that model and making it so it can replicate and it can grow and it can transport and it can transform with personalities of team members that come on board. And all that fluidity requires 80% administration, 20% design.
And is that because he knew that as you move from graphic designer to senior graphic designer to design manager to, I guess, associate,
like a supervisor or a VP,
associate director,
VP,
what is
director,
it? Creative director,
creative director,
art director.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What are the differences between art director, creative director?
Okay, yeah, sure. That's a great question.
That?
So, art director would work with a team of design creatives in like a senior designer and a developer and multimedia specialist and help to craft work in storyboarding space and concept boards and all the fun visual things that take shape. A creative director gets to work with the art director, but also gets to work with the content development and content marketing team, the writers and the copywriters and editors. So the creative director just has that extra opportunity to bring those elements together. Photographers, videographers, maybe a talent for headshot video shoots or those kinds of opportunities. So it just becomes they get to aggregate a little bit more, not just in the visual aesthetics side of it.
Okay, so in a career trajectory or progression, you'd be an art director and then you would move up to creative director. Creative director is the top dog.
Right,
basically.
right. Okay. I suppose then you could move up from there to VP of marketing. And now you're working with, besides just that creative team, now you're working on maybe media buying or placement, or you're working on journey mapping and of a campaign. You're looking at maybe a 6-month maturity of a campaign or a set of mini campaigns. You may be looking at new product announcement opportunities. You might be delving in a little bit more to audience. Getting to know audience segmenting and those kinds of things. So the marketing side of it is definitely a bigger picture than just the creative side of it.
Okay. Thanks for answering that.
Yeah.
So what was your superpower? What was the thing that when you were a maker, what was the thing that you really loved doing, and that, the thing that you brought to the table that was like, this is my speciality?
Okay. That is a great question. And I'm sure that my on the spot answer is typography. I love the power of typography. It is not the art of map making, by the way. It is the art of working with type fonts and their position and the choice of them and what they communicate just in and of themselves. The hierarchy of message, the implied sophistication. If you are trying to convey that typeface is so essential and supports that. If you want to say accessible and down to earth, or gritty, or grunge, or timeless, or wherever your audience is drawn, that there's so much interest and intrigue and power in typography. And also, I've always loved the opportunity, visuals, photography as well, the impact that those visuals can have on the page. So it's kind of a culmination of the elements that just sit on the page. And my role for many years has been, as I framed it, I've been getting rid of the distractions. In design, if I can remove as many distractions as possible, then I've created a piece that has a lifespan, that has a shelf life, that has impact and has relevance. So that's kind of a fun way to look at it. Get the things on the page and then question everything. Can this come away? And if so, what does it do? Oh, no, that needs to stay. So that art of getting rid of the distractions has been something that I think has served us well as part of our secret sauce, as part of our unique value proposition.
Okay. And do you get to do, so would that be considered layout? Because typography and then the other elements like photography and those things, and then you're, design by subtraction, basically.
Yeah, design by subtraction. Yeah. It could be layout when we're talking about a physical, tangible piece, desktop publishing, in a space of a video, maybe a 30-second sizzle video that wants to just pitch a new product release or a new event in the area. There's still great opportunities to get rid of distractions in that process, and it's not all about all of the transitions. Just because they're available doesn't mean you should use them. Right. And that's great. And or even getting rid of the distractions in a 500-word elevator pitch for a creative brief. There's getting rid of distractions in a timeline, in a storyboard script, in a larger a bus wrap, in a event and a post-event promotion, in an email trickle campaign. There's so many opportunities there to just challenge and just simplify.
And do you get an opportunity to do any of that typography, or is that something you're on the weekend, you're making something for your family? When do you get to do that?
Refill the well. I absolutely get a chance every day.
Okay.
And I love the opportunity.
So you are still
that
making.
I have. I'm making.
Yeah. Okay.
What I find is my role right now, and may continue to evolve, and it may become something a little less hands-on, but I have the opportunity to share initial reactions and to help craft and steer and educate and challenge the team members, the creative team on the floor every day with, I'll do this quick, I call it Frankensteining, and it's where I just take a screen grab of the progress that's routed with me, and I'll just throw it into Photoshop or bring it into whatever app, Illustrator or something on an Adobe platform, and I just start cutting and pushing this flattened art and make a box here and give it a label, and I force something to overlap that I make a mess in the process of just helping to, as a fast, expeditious way of just sharing some ideas to let the eye flow through the piece a little bit more efficiently. Let the call to action, the really important, the dangling carrot, be more prominent. Let just some distractions, just simple things, alignments and margins, and in the desktop publishing space, orphans and widows and rivers and those kinds of things that, again, they're so subconscious. And I love the pushback that I get when someone will say, "I am not a designer. Why would I even care about the wrap of that paragraph?" And my answer again is, I can get rid of one more distraction by not having this hanging, word or phrase, or breaking a paragraph up in a weird way. You can't put your finger on it, but I know subconsciously that with simple massaging, this is not reinventing kind of things, simple massaging, all of a sudden you have a piece that just communicates 25% more effectively, or captures a larger group, or just stays a little longer on the desk, or bookmarked, or whatever the case may be.
I can tell you're very passionate about this, and you're someone that someone would want to bring something to get the feedback, because you would really go deep with it and make it better. Yeah. Even if it was just one change that you made.
Right.
So,
and, again, the technician part of me would say, why go through the trouble of quick slapping together broken up tiling and sending it back over, when I could just open the file and make the connections really quickly myself and send it along? I think, of course, there's reward in knowing that there's mentoring that's taking place, sharing of the ideas and the method and the motivation that I have, and how well it's received, and the chance for the team just to dig in and discover and challenge and say, you couldn't actually try that with your Frankensteining, and here's what it looks like as you described it. And I'm like, yeah, that's not it. It's not going to work, is it? Thank you. Right. Thank you for the feedback and the courage to challenge as well.
And how do you create that space where people can feel comfortable, even just generating ideas, right? Yeah. I mean, because a lot of times, I'm always saying, like, all ideas are welcome here, because some of my ideas get the silent treatment, basically.
Yeah.
So how do you create that space for your team to be willing to share any ideas, even if they're crazy, and then get to something that's good?
Yeah, it's a great question, Kyle. I am a big proponent of leading by example. And so the worst creative ideas, let me say this way. I always win on sharing the most bad ideas. Because
so you lead with some bad ones, so people are willing to go, that was a bad one. Okay.
I lead with what I hope are all awesome ideas, inspiring, brilliant ideas. Oh, Jason, I can see why you're doing this. I can see why what 25 years of experience does. But truth be known, the stack of ideas, good, bad, and ugly, are not necessarily in the order that we want them. And I try just to push them right out of me and just get them on the table. And along with those really bad ideas are some pretty cool ideas and some mediocre things, and I don't know. So that's why I went out. I have to just bring it all, just stream of consciousness, just spitballing, just war rooming, just whatever you call it, just how about this? And that made me think of this. That's funny, right? Oh, I'm the only one laughing in the room. Okay, that's not funny. And that just encourages. Okay, this is a safe space. Okay, well, I can't possibly think of an idea dumber than what Jason said. So so let's start talking. And so I love those opportunities. Yeah.
So and even though you're the manager, you're the owner, you get a chance to be creative every day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
And have you sort of made that as a non-negotiable or something that I get a chance to be creative every day, or is that just the way it worked out?
I think it's just the way it worked out.
Okay.
I offer value that way. I know it's a huge value for me to be hands-on in the creative discussions. It just is, and I love it. And I learn from our art director. I learn from our designers and our creative, content marketing leads, and our account admin, and our assistant marketing lead. And we all are part of that creative brainstorming process that doesn't get divided out. And, you guys, you do the creative, and we'll do the budgeting, and we'll do the management, and we'll do the hand-holding, and, we'll do the assessing and the post-mortem and all of that. As our team, I love that we have the luxury in terms of the size of our team to all be involved and to all have contribute to that process. It makes us unique in that sort of ad agency way as well, where there's just not a senior liaison that reports to a account manager that goes to a project manager that then does a brief, and then it gets down at that level and it comes back up for air, or it gets taken into a 3-week soundproof room where the big idea is being generated, and you just cross your fingers that they don't use the headline that they used last year. And, so I love breaking, just really defying those sort of norms or expectations in the ad agency space. So hence that idea and that concept of an ad agency. And we do other things as well to really break that norm as well. No stacked billing where 4 people in a room spending an hour on a project. That can be pretty expensive. That's like law firm costs sort of things, and we will not do that. We will identify, one of the multiple people on a team, on a stacked discussion bills, and the other 1 or 2 or 3 do not. And that's fine. You could say, well, that encourages solo working from a productivity standpoint. Well, yes, from a billable productivity standpoint, that the metrics say bill as many dollars as you can for the time, but when it comes down to it, that importance of the team building and the morale and the contributions and the depth of ideas that come from combined thinking and that shared time and those face-to-face moments just are really valuable to us internally. And by the way, they do a lot of good as well as they get out into the field. They do the client good, and they do the customer for the client a lot of good as well. So so those are just a few of those ad agency things that I just love for us to embrace.
I love it. You mentioned Heather.
Yes.
And I wanted to just ask you how important a life partner who's also a business partner is to Targa Media.
Yeah, that's a great question. And so she and I, Heather, my wife and I, we met in design school at BYU and dated there and got married shortly after we had graduated. And so I think of her as my art director for ideas, and she's someone I can bounce ideas off of. I love that I don't, that she hasn't had to be an integral part of the day-to-day of the business. I love that the team sees Heather as someone who's rooting for all of the team and is keep helping me keep my sanity and keeping me, sharp and on my game. And so, for the most part, and as well, I get to check in with her from time to time and let her know how we're doing, and let her let me know how I'm doing. And so that I'm just grateful that she has that space and that we don't have to overlap that time together. So she's just the silent and strong partner.
That's excellent. And are your kids following in your footsteps with design and music and all things Jason Steed, or what? How is that working?
I remember as a concert pianist, with a 2-year full ride piano performance scholarship, there was a lot required of me for hours and dedication and sacrifice. And it was the culmination of a lot of years of being a piano player and not being very adept and coordinated at sports other than ultimate frisbee, as you mentioned at the beginning of this. And wow, that felt like I really achieved something and I really broke barriers. And so I knew how to help. I knew how to help others, find the dedication time and be persistent, and the value of something like a real foundational skill in music. I learned as well after about the first year and a half of trying to force hours of practicing from our oldest child, Savannah, who then was 7, 8, 9 years old, that wasn't going to happen. That was not the way. I was not productive in that space. I was losing a lot of momentum and kind of forcing that time, that dedication. So I stepped back and I just allowed things to take shape on their time. And so with all of our kids, so bless Vanna's heart for being willing to, be that first child.
The experimental child.
And to step
Always
away.
the oldest, yeah.
And as a result of me really just having music in the home and art in the home. Heather is an amazing artist and craftsman. She is a potter. She is a sculptor. She is a painter, a photographer. So there's a richness of arts in our household, and that has a great power to rub off on the family. So Vanna was an excellent percussionist and went on to her first year of college with a percussion degree. And we have a music dance theater major in Aaron, our second oldest. And our 2 boys love the opportunity to just take part in music and be curious in art and sketching and digital artistry and all of that. So that's been fun to see how that develops. And in fact, our oldest daughter, Vanna, has been for about 9-10 months full-time with us at Targa Media.
Doing graphic design?
Doing graphic design and multimedia and everything. She is just willing to say yes. She's willing to say, I hope so. I'll try it. I'm curious. And it's just a beautiful thing to witness. So she's been a major contributor with our firm. Out of necessity, I needed her. She was looking for work. She had some great experience in communications and digital, sort of experience. And to have her being willing to be the boss's daughter for whatever baggage that comes with the team, treats her as one of their own, and there's just a real kind of a level, fun playing field that I witness. I certainly hope that's the case. So,
well, who'd have thought that a mom and dad who were both graphic designers would produce a graphic designer?
It's true. It was, up until a year and a half ago, there was a lot of interests for the kids, and I was glad that we didn't have an agenda for them. And I'm glad to see them picking their own paths from the creative and arts side of things to music, dance, theater, to engineering for our older son, and just a nice variety.
Nice. I've so enjoyed talking to you tonight. I've learned so much. I wanted to ask you just to give a 30-second tell and sell about design, because designers now have a kind of a seat at the table. You see chief design officers at big brands now, right? Mm-hmm. And they're not just off in the corner. They actually sometimes have a corner office, and they're sitting around the executive table with the CEO and others. How important is design to a company?
Right. Yeah, it's a great question. I think as you try to establish brand equity, consistency in your message, obviously that can come from various directions. That can come from brand strategy and marketing and audience research, and it can come from sales and a lot of places. I think design just is a very powerful way of simplifying the intent of the brand, simplifying the unique value proposition, simplifying. I don't mean to imply that mitigates its impact. It's very powerful. Design is what embodies the entire vision statement and mission statement of a Fortune 500 company in the form of a logo on a baseball hat. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty tall order. Mm-hmm. What a cool and it's an honor to be able to take part and take on something like that. And so from a design standpoint, you could talk about product design that has a different look and a different intent than that comes down to more kind of the schematics and the maybe the user experience and so forth. But from a visual aesthetic standpoint, yeah, for sure, there's a real need for that critical thinking, for those basic pragmatic principles of design balance and design theory. I think of my design books, textbooks from college I remember buying them, cringing for the $40 a book price tag back in 1995, mm-hmm. 96, mm-hmm. picking up these books on typography and balance and color theory. And it's hard to find, it's hard to see that that's still being taught and valued, but it continues to be a timeless value add to a company. And so firms really do seek that out. Companies really do seek out the longevity that smart design balance and design aesthetics can bring to a brand. So yeah, okay. There's my 30 seconds plus a minute.
Thank you. So if you were going to start a business today, mm-hmm. what 3 books would you use as your board of advisors? You can only choose 3.
3 books. I would pick I would pick Tribes by Seth Godin.
Okay.
And I would pick Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And I think actually those 2 books are so powerful that I wouldn't need a third.
Wow.
That's
great.
Kudos to those 2 authors.
No kidding.
Probably something from Guy Kawasaki.
Okay. As
maybe an ebook from Guy Kawasaki.
Okay. Selling the Dream, I think is
he was with Adobe for a while and have had a chance to bump into him a couple times.
Oh, wow. You've met him before.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's really cool. All right. Let's go straight to the lightning round. Favorite candy bar?
Favorite candy bar is whatchamacallit.
Favorite musical artist?
I would say Toto.
Favorite cereal?
Honeycomb.
Mac or PC?
Mac.
Google, Gmail, and Workspace, or G Suite, or Microsoft Outlook and Office?
Probably not Microsoft. So whatever other options are on the list.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Phantom or Les Mis?
Oh, man. Phantom.
Good answers.
Those are good. Some of those are I was lightning, and some of them was a little lower, slower on the bulb.
It took you a little bit.
Yeah,
it took you a little bit. So where can people find you and Targa Media? And also, we've got to get to this, the 80s live stream.
Sure.
Tuesday night music club 80s live stream.
So
where can they find you at?
This has been a lot of fun. Heather and I just had this thing in the back of our heads. What if we just took requests and did our best job at attempting them? And so that took form about a year ago as our Improving the 80s nights.
And do you have backing tracks? Do you have, are you just a drum machine? You're on guitar, piano? What's happening? It
is so crazy. No backing tracks, no drum machine, no chords, no sheet music, no chord charts. We use lyrics from an iPad. As a request comes in, we hit the pause, we hit the mute button for 30 seconds to let our smart speaker get it in our heads. We'll have a drummer. Scott has been our drummer for a long time, and we have other drummers. And then we have a guest vocalist or two who's just a good friend from community theater or the neighborhoods. And we just unmute and we just go to town. I'm the pianist. I hear... if I've heard a song, my left hand knows the chord structure as at least a fairly good semblance of it. My right hand knows the intervals for the melody lines and the guitar solos on a keyboard, and we just jump in and we see how far we can get without crashing and burning. It's a real blast. It's so fun that I have this fun husband and wife thing that we just kind of thrive off of. It doesn't take big commitment of time. We don't have to rehearse. And you can find more on either YouTube or Twitch at Improv 80s is our
That's 80.
80S, yes. Okay. Improving the 80s. Almost improving, but not quite. It's really just improvising. So
Improv 80s.
Improv 80s. Yeah,
on Twitch
and YouTube.
And then you have to be friends to do the face?
And then Facebook is obviously always I'm always streaming public. So if they found facebook.com/JESteed, then on Tuesday nights you'd catch the live stream, and that's where we're looking for requests. On the fly requests. That's where our live requests are coming from.
From Facebook.
Yeah, from Facebook. Yeah.
Awesome.
But it's been fun to toy with the technologies and again just have a family, husband and wife kind of a thing going on.
Awesome. And I will include links to Targa Media and all things Jason Steed and the Improv 80s on the show notes. But thank you, Jason, for being so generous with your time. I hope you have another 20 anniversaries plus at Targa Media, and I look forward to seeing the great things you and your team do.
Kyle,
in the future.
Bless you for all the work you do to put these together. This has been a real honor. Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight.
You bet.